Jack Marlowe had always been a loner. The open plains, endless skies, and the sound of hooves pounding against the dirt road were the only companions he truly understood. After years of living life on the move, he had grown tired of wandering. His heart longed for a place to call home, a piece of land he could claim as his own. When Jack rode into San Juan, a small town nestled between dusty hills, he wasn't expecting much. The town was quiet, as most frontier towns were, and the locals went about their business with the steady rhythm of people who had seen too many hard days to get excited about anything. But it was here that Jack saw something that caught his eye, a sign posted outside the town's small general store. Ranch for sale, $50, inquire within. He couldn't believe it. A ranch for only $50? It was unheard of. Every piece of land in this part of the world was usually priced beyond the reach of a man like Jack. But there it was, in black and white. Curious and skeptical, Jack decided to investigate. What could be the catch? Inside the store, an elderly man behind the counter greeted him with a nod. "You interested in that ranch?" the man asked, pointing at the sign outside. Jack raised an eyebrow. $50 for a whole ranch? That can't be right, the elderly man chuckled. You'd think so, wouldn't you? But it's true. The ranch belonged to an old Apache man, a warrior from years back. He passed away recently and his family doesn't want it. They're selling it cheap, no questions asked. Jack thought for a moment. He had no family, no connections, and not a penny to spare beyond what he'd earned on his last cattle drive. The idea of owning his own land, even for such a low price, was tempting. He had spent too many years bouncing from place to place. Maybe this was his chance to settle down. "I'll take it," Jack said without hesitation. The elderly man smiled, writing up the paperwork quickly. He handed Jack a small bundle of papers, and with a firm handshake, the deal was done. Jack had bought a ranch for $50. The excitement that came with the purchase quickly faded as Jack made his way to the property. It was a good 2-hour ride, and the further he went, the more the landscape began to change. The vast plain slowly gave way to rocky hills and dense clusters of trees. The road grew rougher, and Jack's horse, a sturdy animal named Dusty, struggled over the uneven terrain. When Jack finally arrived at the ranch, he was both surprised and somewhat disappointed. The property wasn't much to look at. A few old buildings, a barn that looked ready to collapse, and a wide stretch of land that seemed to stretch forever. He had expected more, but he supposed it would be enough. It was his now. He dismounted, tying Dusty to a fence post, and walked towards the barn. But as he got closer, he noticed something strange. There was smoke rising from the top of the barn, the kind of smoke you see when someone is cooking or building a fire. Jack frowned. He hadn't seen any signs of life since he'd arrived, and the last thing he expected was to find someone here. As he approached the barn, the smoke thickened. It wasn't a fire, Jack realized, but rather a campfire that had been lit near the barn's entrance. The shadows around the barn seemed to move, and Jack instinctively reached for his rifle. But just before he could draw it, he heard voices, soft but distinct. They were speaking in a language Jack didn't recognize, a smooth, lilting sound that made him pause. Slowly, he moved forward, peeking around the corner of the barn. What he saw made his heart skip a beat. 3 women stood by the fire. They were dressed in traditional Apache clothing, leather and beads, their hair long and braided. They didn't seem surprised to see him. In fact, they were waiting for him. The tallest woman, who looked to be in her late 20s, stepped forward. She had a strong presence, her dark eyes scanning Jack with a look that was both welcoming and wary. Her name, she introduced herself, was Tala. "You're the one who bought the ranch?" she asked in clear but accented English. Jack nodded, still taken aback by the sudden appearance of the women. I didn't expect anyone to be here. I thought this place was abandoned." Tala smiled softly. "It's not abandoned. This is our land too." Before Jack could respond, another woman, younger and with a mischievous grin, stepped forward. Her name was Sani, and she was more lively than Tala, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. She wore a necklace with small bones, and her hair was woven with bright feathers. "We've been waiting for someone to come," Sani said, her voice playful. "Grandfather told us that someone would come one day. We just didn't know it would be a cowboy." Jack, still unsure of what to make of the situation, glanced at the third woman. She was the oldest of the 3, her face marked with the wisdom of years, but there was something in her eyes that held deep knowledge and strength. Her name was Nijoni, and when she spoke, her voice was steady and calm. "Your arrival is no accident," Nijoni said. "This land called to you, and we are here to help you understand it." Jack was confused. Help him understand what? The land? He had bought this ranch to escape his lonely life, not to become involved in some mystical adventure. "I don't understand," Jack said slowly. "I thought I was buying a ranch, not this." Tala stepped closer, her gaze softening. "This ranch is more than land, Jack. It is a place of power. Our grandfather was the keeper of it, and now it is our turn to protect it." Jack felt a cold shiver run down his spine. What did they mean? "Protect it from what?" Tala continued. "We are not here by choice, but by duty. The land has secrets, and those secrets need to be guarded. If you are to own this land, you must first understand its history." Jack felt a mixture of curiosity and unease. He had thought buying this ranch would be simple, but now he was tangled up in something much deeper than he had expected. "What do you want from me?" Jack asked, his voice low and cautious. "We only want what was promised," Nijoni said, her gaze intense. "We want to know that the land is in safe hands. And we want you to help us." Jack wasn't sure what to think. He had come here to start a new life, not to become part of an old prophecy or some ancient duty. But something about the women's presence, the way they spoke, made him feel that there was something more to this place than he could ever have imagined. He looked at the three women, each one with their own strength and mystery. For the first time in a long while, Jack felt something stir inside him, a sense of purpose. "All right," he said, making up his mind. "I'll stay, but you'll have to explain everything, and we'll figure this out together." The women exchanged looks, and a silent understanding passed between them. They had chosen Jack, and now, together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The fire crackled in the background as the night deepened, and Jack sat down by the Apache women, ready to learn the truth about the ranch and about the land that was now his. Jack woke up the next morning to the sound of birds chirping, the smell of fresh earth, and the warmth of the sun rising over the horizon. He had spent the night by the fire with the three Apache women, listening to their stories, trying to understand what they meant by the land being alive. But as the sun rose, Jack still felt uncertain about the entire situation. The ranch was quiet, except for the soft breeze rustling through the trees. Dusty, Jack's horse, grazed lazily near the barn, and the three women were already up, busy preparing breakfast over a small campfire. Jack rubbed his eyes and stood up, stretching. "Good morning, Jack." Tala greeted him, her voice as calm as ever. She was standing next to the fire, stirring something in a pot. Jack sat down near the fire, trying to make sense of everything. "I've been thinking about what you said last night," he began. "About protecting the land. What do you mean by that? And why are you so sure it needs protection?" Sani, who was sitting nearby and playing with the feathers in her hair, smiled mischievously. "You think it's just dirt and rocks, don't you? That this ranch is just a piece of property, but this land, it's special." Nijoni, the older woman, looked up from the fire with a serious expression. "The land has power, Jack. Our people have always known this. Our ancestors have protected it for generations, but now we need help. And you're the one who has come to answer the call." Jack frowned, still confused. "I don't know about any call. I just came here to buy a ranch. But you're saying it's something more?" Tala nodded. "This land is sacred. It's tied to the spirits of our people, and it holds secrets that must be kept hidden from the outside world. For generations, our family has watched over it, but now it's time for you to take on this responsibility." Jack had never believed in spirits or anything mystical. He was a man of practical thinking, someone who believed in hard work and survival, not in ancient prophecies or secret powers. But as he sat there, watching the women and listening to their words, something in the air felt different. The land felt different. "I don't understand," Jack said slowly. "I'm just a cowboy. What do I have to do with any of this?" Nijoni's eyes met his, and for the first time, Jack saw something deep and knowing in her gaze. "You're not just any cowboy, Jack," she said. "You've been chosen. The land has chosen you." Before Jack could reply, the sound of hooves interrupted their conversation. Jack stood up quickly, instinctively reaching for his rifle. Dusty neighed and pawed at the ground as a group of riders appeared over the hill. They were dressed in dark clothes and looked like they meant business. The leader, a tall man with a thick mustache, waved as he rode forward. "Who are they?" Jack asked, his voice low. Tala's expression grew serious. "Trouble." The riders came closer, and the man leading them called out, "You there, is this your land?" Jack stepped forward, standing tall. "It is." The man dismounted, his boots hitting the dirt with a thud. "Name's Thomas Hawk," he said, his voice gruff. "I've heard this land is up for grabs. We've got plans for it. Big plans. You better sell it to us before things get difficult." Jack felt his chest tighten. He had a bad feeling about this man. Hawk didn't look like someone who would take no for an answer. "I'm not selling," Jack said firmly, standing his ground. "I bought this ranch fair and square." Hawk chuckled, a cold smile on his face. "You might want to rethink that, cowboy. The land's valuable, and we've got the resources to take it, whether you like it or not." Tala and Sani stepped forward, their expressions unreadable. Nizoni stood behind them, her eyes narrowed with caution. The air around them seemed to grow heavier, as if the land itself was holding its breath. "We won't sell," Tala said, her voice steady but firm. "This land is protected." Hawk's smile faltered for a moment, but then he laughed again. "Protected? By who? A few women and an old man?" Jack's hand tightened on the grip of his rifle, but before he could speak, Nizoni raised her hand, signaling for calm. "This land is sacred, Hawk. You don't know what you're dealing with. Leave now before you regret it." Hawk's face hardened. "You think a bunch of old legends are going to scare me off? We'll be back, and next time, we'll take it by force." With that, Hawk turned and signaled for his men to leave. As the riders disappeared over the horizon, Jack felt a mix of relief and confusion. He knew they'd be back. And the warning Nizoni had given only made him more nervous. "What did he mean by, 'the land is protected'?" Jack asked, turning to the women. Nizoni looked at him, her face grave. "It's not just the land that's in danger, it's what lies beneath it. There are ancient powers here. Powers that men like Hawk would destroy for greed." Tala stepped closer. "You don't understand yet, Jack. But you will. The land is more than just dirt and rock. It holds the spirits of our ancestors, and it can be a great weapon or a great curse. That's why we've been guarding it for so long." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. "And now I have to protect it?" Sani grinned. "Looks like it, cowboy. You're not just a ranch owner anymore, you're part of something much bigger." As the day wore on, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that he was being pulled into something far beyond his control. The Apache women worked around the ranch, tending to the horses and repairing fences, but Jack stayed close, trying to understand the weight of the responsibility that had been placed on him. That night, as the stars filled the sky, Jack sat by the fire with the three women. They spoke little, but their presence was comforting, and Jack felt his mind slowly starting to accept the idea that this was his new life. "I'll help," Jack said quietly, his voice carrying the weight of his decision. "But I don't know what I'm up against." Nizoni smiled, the firelight dancing in her eyes. "You'll learn. We'll teach you. Together, we'll protect this land." The night was silent, save for the crackling of the fire and the soft sounds of the wind rustling through the trees. Jack sat back, staring up at the sky. For the first time in years, he felt like he had found his place. The land, the women, and the legacy of those who had come before him. All of it was now his to protect. And though he didn't fully understand it yet, Jack knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning.